Ava had always known her mother-in-law, Eleanor, didn't think she was good enough, but the day she finally told Ava to leave her son Nathan was the day everything quietly shifted, because while Eleanor believed she was delivering a final blow, she had no idea she was detonating her own future. It happened on a mild late summer Sunday, the kind where sunlight made the granite countertops glow, and Ava was calmly clearing the brunch dishes when Eleanor leaned in, her perfume too sweet, her words dipped in sugar and poison at the same time, murmuring, "Ava, darling, let's not drag this out any longer. You need to walk away from Nathan." And Ava froze for only a second, her grip tightening around the silverware as if grounding herself, while across the room Nathan laughed at something his father Rowan said, completely oblivious to the grenade his mother had just rolled across the kitchen floor, because Eleanor continued with the confidence of a woman convinced the world bent itself around her desires, adjusting the sapphire bracelet on her wrist as she whispered, "You must see it, dear. You're simply not the right fit for our family." And Ava almost laughed because the familiarity of the insult was exhausting. The subtle digs at her background, the condescending comments wrapped in compliments, the introductions where she was nothing more than Nathan's wife and never her own person. But today, Eleanor wasn't bothering with disguises. Today, she was initiating an eviction, saying Ava lacked pedigree, lacked the right lineage, lacked connections, that a woman like her would only drag a man like Nathan down. And as Eleanor spoke with unwavering arrogance, Ava slowly exhaled and set the plates down with precise, quiet intention, which Eleanor misinterpreted as defeat, smiling that polished, brittle smile of a woman who had never been told no in her entire life, adding, "Nathan will remarry, of course. We'll find someone suitable, someone of the proper class." Certain she was delivering the final verdict, but all Ava did was smile, soft, measured, unsettling, and walk away without a single argument, leaving Eleanor momentarily thrown off balance because she had no idea that the house she loved hosting parties in, the one with the towering windows and the imported marble floors, was not Nathan's accomplishment, not a family heirloom, not anything connected to Eleanor at all. She had no idea Ava had purchased it years before the wedding, entirely with her own money from a business she built when no one believed she could. A business Eleanor dismissed repeatedly as cute, small, just a hobby, unaware it had grown into an empire Nathan's entire salary couldn't even touch, and she had no idea every luxury she enjoyed, from the vineyard vacations to the elite charity galas, was funded not by their family name, but by Ava's private accounts. Ava didn't tell Nathan that night about his mother's ultimatum. She didn't have to, because she already knew the moment Eleanor decided Ava was disposable. She had sealed her own spiral into ruin, and over the following days Eleanor grew bolder, whispering manipulative doubts in Nathan's ear, telling him Ava didn't understand their lifestyle, telling him someone raised differently could never truly belong, and Ava watched it all unfold like a slow-moving play she had already read the ending to, until the night she overheard Eleanor murmuring to Nathan that if he left Ava now, she would make sure he walked away with everything, as if she controlled any of it, and Ava almost laughed out loud, because the truth was, Eleanor was gambling with empty pockets. That night, lying beside Nathan while he slept soundly, unaware of the war being waged in his name, Ava realized she wasn't angry. She was entertained, because the naive belief they held that they had something to take from her was almost adorable. And the next morning when Nathan finally worked up the nerve to tell her they wanted different things, his voice shaky and unsure, Ava simply nodded, letting him believe he was leading the conversation, letting him believe he had power, letting him believe he was the one choosing to separate, all while she packed a suitcase with the calm of a woman who already knew exactly how this story ended. She checked into a luxury hotel that Eleanor once bragged about donating to, ordered champagne, and watched the city from the window, imagining Eleanor celebrating her false victory, imagining Nathan thinking he was reclaiming freedom, unaware that by the following afternoon, his perfect little world would begin collapsing like wet paper. because the first frantic text came from Nathan before lunchtime. Ava, something's wrong with the house. The bank is saying my name isn't anywhere on the documents. She didn't answer. By early evening, his messages were panicked, confused, pleading. She still didn't answer. By the next morning, Eleanor was calling the bank, furious, demanding answers, insisting there had been a mistake, only to learn that the home she flaunted as her son's achievement had never belonged to him, had never belonged to their family, had never been accessible to them at all. When Ava finally agreed to meet them at the house, Eleanor's perfect composure was cracking, and Nathan looked pale and exhausted, asking why the house wasn't in his name, and Ava simply said, "Because it never was," watching the truth hit them like ice water. Eleanor sputtered with indignation, screaming that Ava had tricked them, manipulated them, trapped Nathan, and Ava responded coolly, "The prenup you insisted didn't matter? Nathan signed it willingly. You assumed I had nothing to protect." Nathan looked stunned, like he was seeing Ava for the first time, not as a quiet, accommodating wife, but as a woman who had built something bigger than all of them combined. And Eleanor's voice rose to a shriek as she claimed Ava was nothing without her son, to which Ava replied softly but with lethal accuracy, "I had everything before him, and I still do." She walked away, leaving them standing in the driveway of a home that was never theirs, and in the days that followed, their unraveling accelerated. Eleanor stormed into Nathan's workplace demanding he be promoted, only to embarrass him so severely that HR initiated a performance review he had already been skating on thin ice with, and he was promptly fired. His friends distanced themselves. The women Eleanor introduced him to wanted nothing to do with a man living in his mother's shadow. Eleanor herself gained a reputation so toxic that the elite social circles she clung to stopped inviting her altogether. Meanwhile, Ava didn't just survive, she expanded, flourished, evolved. Her business grew faster than ever, her team doubled, investors sought her out, and nearly 2 years later, on the anniversary of the day she left Nathan behind, she hosted an intimate gathering at her flagship boutique, surrounded by women who respected her, admired her, and supported her. That's when Sienna, the woman Eleanor once paraded around as a better match for Nathan, walked in, timid and apologetic, admitting she had believed Eleanor's lies, but now realized Ava had never been the problem. The problem had always been Eleanor's arrogance and Nathan's weakness. Ava simply nodded, offering a calm, knowing smile, because she already understood something that had taken everyone else far too long to see. She wasn't just better off without them. They had never deserved her in the first place, and as she looked out at the glowing city lights, she felt the unshakable truth settle over her like silk. Eleanor once said she wasn't good enough for their family, and in the end, Eleanor had been right, because Ava wasn't good enough for them. She was better,